Hello and welcome to Crafty's Theory of Learning. In this video, we're going to look at something called tacit knowledge and language. It sounds a bit highbrow, but it's not. Don't worry. First of all, we're going to look at I want to recommend some authors. These are philosophers, unfortunately, so they're very difficult. But this is where this idea comes from. These three authors, sort of a combination of their works. From Ludwig Wittgenstein, the philosopher, Alfred Korzybski. He was his finger in every pie, and Michael Polanyi, who was a scientist and turned philosopher. Now, I'm just mentioning them in case you might find it interesting to go and read them, because they're important. They all have one book, and maybe I'll put a link in the description of the title of the book. So why are they important? Well, they looked at two different things. They looked at two aspects. For example, Wittgenstein, all three looked at language, and all three looked at the practical. By that I mean by actions, physical actions, doing things. And this is what I mean when we say tacit knowledge. This comes from Polanyi. It's just the name of his book. It means when you do something, when you know something by doing it. And the new phrase is learning by doing, I suppose. I don't like that because it's a catchphrase, but if people understand it like that, then it's better. When we say learning by doing, we're not saying just go ahead and try until something flashes in your mind and I understand. No, this is how we approach a certain aspect of learning. Like I said in the previous video, there's not just one approach or one technique, and it's the same by doing. There's not just one way to do it. There could be several ways of doing it, and we have to attack it at different angles. This is the important thing. Not just do something for the sake of doing it. So this is the important thing of these three authors. The connection between the mental and the physical. Which is why, for example, language is important. Because language is just the essence of teaching of something. Language is everything, basically. We need it to learn more involved things. So you can learn basic actions, of course. You don't need to talk about that. But we're a bit more evolved than that, so we have to use language. And language is just a series of actions, let's say. We're guiding somebody by using language because they understand what those words mean and how we use them. So the language is very important in how we learn. And language is a tricky thing because let's say you're a computer programmer. Now, computer programming is a language in itself. But on top of that, people who program have developed their own language around this area. And if you don't know it, you're lost. So when you start learning a new thing, there's a language evolved around it that you have to learn. And sometimes it's intimidating. For example, if you want to learn a foreign language, you have to learn English. It sounds strange, but you have to learn English grammar. If you don't know your English grammar, you're not going to know the grammar of the foreign language you want to learn. And by grammar, I mean the rules of the language. So let's see, how would we describe it? Let's say we have to understand the jargon before we can approach things sometimes. And some people can be very jealous of their knowledge. If you just go on the internet and you'll see this, instead of helping people, the superior attitude comes out, and this is why I want to do these videos as well, to break down the mystique of different areas, because sometimes people think because they can do it, it's better to make it sound grandiose, so difficult to do. and when it's not, it's just a process. And this is the important thing. So looking at the language evolved in the area we are learning is vital. And we have to look at if we're looking at a particular aspect of this area, it will have its own language, how it describes itself, and we have to, not say translate, but interpret to our own understanding. And this is the important part. I'm not going to give examples here because there would be numerous, but when we go into the videos, we'll see that each area has so much of its own jargon that it becomes daunting, I think would be the word. Sometimes people give up very quickly, not because they can't do it, but because it just seems too much. It's too much to learn. It's not too much to learn. Sometimes it's just understanding the jargon. Once you understand that, the rest flows easier. Which is why I hate these, how would you call it? This elitism in areas of knowledge, For example, from my personal experience, I studied philosophy in university, and my teachers were so, I'm not saying they're bad people, but they just thought too much of themselves. Maybe because they were professors of philosophy, I don't know, but they didn't help you in the learning process. I never learned one thing from my teachers. That sounds strange. I learned it by myself because I was interested in it, and I had to understand the jargon of philosophy. And philosophy was one of the most difficult subjects, and it's just jargon. Once you understand that, the rest, the ideas, the essence, is very easy. And this is what we have to break, the mystique of this jargon surrounding everything. So hopefully this will be demonstrated throughout the videos, and we'll try and do that. We'll be the mystique breaker. And hopefully take out the fear of learning, because you shouldn't be frightened to learn, for one thing. You shouldn't be frustrated or anything like that. Okay? Nothing is too difficult to learn. Nothing. It's just understanding the language around it, trying, practicing, not giving up, and hopefully you'll do that. So this video is a bit strange, I know, but it's necessary, and hopefully you get something from it. I do. That you can learn anything, and this is what this channel is about. So if you go into the next video, we'll be looking at mnemonics and the memory. Ooh. And I hope this video has been a little bit illuminating, if only a tad. Okay then, have a good one.